Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Vento Aureo, or Golden Wind if you prefer, Episode 2. So yeah, I'm going to say right off the bat, I want to correct myself on something that I mentioned in my last reaction and thoughts and all. I had said that Koichi in Part 4 was voiced by Justin Briner. This is false. But the thing is, when I said that, I actually did believe that. Because here's the thing. When excuse me. When I first started watching the English dub for Part 4, which is when it started airing on Toonami, of course, because I think that's where it actually debuted. When I first started watching that, I was listening to Koichi's voice, and I'm like, is that the voice of Izuku? And I went online and I looked up the English voices for the characters. And the thing is, at that point in time, the English, the full English voice cast wasn't really much of anywhere online. Like, you couldn't find... I was having trouble finding much of anything. And even in the episodes after, I had trouble finding for other characters, too. Such as for Keicho Nichimura. And it seems like there hasn't been, like, this big full listing at that point. Now, since then, there's been more lists coming out. But either way, I looked it up online because I wanted to check it and make sure. And what I found at that point said that Justin Briner was the voice. And I knew Justin Briner was the voice of Izuku, so I thought it was. And I hadn't seen any listing since then that, like, said otherwise. So, I thought it was him. And here's the thing. It sounds a lot like Justin Briner. That's why I made the mistake in the first place, because I thought it sounded a lot like Justin Briner's voice for Izuku. And so, yeah, what I ended up seeing, like I said, I think was a fan casting, because there were a few of those out there before the dub came out. And I checked later on, like after last week's episode, after I was corrected, and I found out that a lot of people wanted Justin Briner to voice Koichi, that it was like the biggest fan cast voice that I could find for Koichi. So that seems to have been the thing. I saw a fan casting thing and I didn't realize it was a fan casting at that moment. So I apologize for that. Justin Briner is not the voice of Koichi. I really did think it was. I apologize. Either way, so last episode, our first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, gave us a much different take on things. So Koichi arrives in Italy, and there he meets Giorno Giovanna. Giorno, which, by the way, isn't his birth name, is a half Japanese, half Italian member of the Joestar family. And not only that, he's the son of motherfucking Dio. Which is fun. And it was pointed out to me that it's like, judging on his age and everything, he would have had to have been born, obviously, when Dio had Jonathan's body. I don't think I put that together last time. Or if I did, I forgot about it. But that means that he does have both Joestar and Dio lineage to him. Because when Dio took over Jonathan's body, I assume the DNA from Dio's head mixed with the DNA from Jonathan's body. I would assume so. Because the bodies were now combined in one body, basically. So he has both Joestar and... He has both blood from the Joestar family, from Jonathan, and from Dio. That's wild. And we know that Dio has had intimate relations with women. Even in part one, it kind of showed half-naked women by his feet and stuff, when he was in his castle and stuff. And there was that one mother, I believe, who it could very easily believed he probably slept with after he turned her and then forced her to eat her baby. Which was fucked up. Still fucked up. I mean, it's fucked up to even think about, like, shit. But yeah, it's very believable that after gaining Jonathan's body and during the, like, events of Stardust Crusaders, or maybe even just before or whatever, he would have probably slept with quite a few women, let's be honest. I mean, it's completely believable. And the idea that one of them that he would have slept with gave birth to Giorno is altogether possible. Now, the question I raise is that, so he just let her live? He just let Giorno's mother just live and go free? Because that doesn't seem much like him. Like, I would think he'd turn her. Or at least that he'd kill her or something. I don't know. I don't see why he would let her just go off after that. That really doesn't seem like him. Unless maybe he, like, I don't know. Because it was kind of said that he was weak at first, like after he had first been brought back up, as we know from the coffin that was under the water. We know he was really weak at first, so maybe he did it and he thought he had killed her, but she got away somehow? I don't know. Maybe it'll explain that in this. I kind of hope so, because there's a lot of questions otherwise on how that all worked. Because, again, I just don't see Dio, like, fucking some chick and then letting her just go free. Unless he specifically wanted to have a son out there. Maybe to possibly carry on his legacy or something. Or hell, maybe the mother of Giorno, maybe she was around where they were. In Egypt. Maybe the deal was that he was keeping her close by in order for her to eventually give birth to a son, and he was going to raise that son in a way to basically create another Dio, another one of himself. But because and especially since he wasn't planning on dying, and he thought he couldn't be defeated, especially after getting the stand and everything. Maybe because of that, after he was killed, she was able to get free and everything, and I don't know, I'm just speculating. But either way, I'm getting way too into that point and nothing else. So yeah, last time we met Giorno, we found out he's Dio's son, and so that's interesting. He's also kind of a different JoJo. He's a nice guy, almost like Josuke, but he has a little bit of the mischievousness of Joseph to him. Like the fact that he stole a couple bills out of that woman's wallet after he gave it back to her from the pickpocket who tried to take it. You know, the guy ran into her, pickpocketed her wallet, but Giorno pickpocketed it back and gave it back to her. But he did take a couple bills for himself, after making them come alive and turn into butterflies. Because he could just do that. That's apparently his stand power. I assume we're going to learn more about the stand powers in this episode too, by the way. But yeah, it's just, we see he kind of has that mischievous side, but then he used some of the money to buy an ice cream cone for this, like, sad little kid as well. So he's kind of a good guy, but also he has a little bit of a criminal side to him. Just a little. Plus we saw he doesn't have any qualms with someone dying in front of him, or he didn't kill Leaky Eye Luca himself. but he didn't show like he was going to lose any sleep over it. He didn't seem to care that Luca died at all. We know that he has this problem with repeating himself. He does not like to repeat himself. And we also saw at the end, we are introduced to another character named Bruno. I believe it was Bruno. And this Bruno guy is creepy as fuck. And apparently his stand power is he can open up a person's body parts, and he has the ability to stick things in there. Because he slipped Leaky Eye Luca's eyeball into Giorno's clenched fist, as well as a couple of Leaky Eye Luca's fingers, detached fingers, into Giorno's mouth. And it happened really quickly and really suddenly, so presumably he can obviously do it really quick. Now, I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know the exact nature of his stand power, but again, hopefully we're going to find out, because the end of the episode kind of implied that they're about to start possibly a battle. I don't know. We're going to see. But yeah, I'm interested to see exactly what they do. I like the art direction as well. My only issue with it is I don't like the way Koichi looks. Like, with Jotaro, I'm fine with. But Koichi, it's I guess a couple years later after the events of Diamond is Unbreakable. Koichi, one, he looks just the same, which he really shouldn't. He should look at least a little older. And two, I don't like the way this new art style works with his character. The art style in Diamond is Unbreakable was a lot smoother and more colorful and everything, and his character worked great for that. But here, it's like they almost went back to more of a classic JoJo style, like from the first 3 parts. But also, it kind of mixes like the first 3 parts style with part 4, and Koichi just doesn't look right. I'm sorry. And when he's yelling or whatnot, and he's like exclaiming things, he doesn't have any emotion on his face. Maybe they'll fix that. But it's just like, I really just feel like they kind of had some problems with that, at least in the first episode. Either way, I'm excited to get into this episode. I know nothing about what's going to happen, but I really, really enjoyed the first episode, and I'm hoping the second one is even better. I'm hoping we get some more info on the stands, and yeah, I can't wait to see what other references are put in here. So, in the meantime, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so this was also another great episode of JoJo Part 5. Really interesting, too. So, apparently we have Bruno Baccarati, I think it is, or Baccarati, or something like that. I'm just going to call him Bruno. And his stand, Zipper Man. Okay. So, Zipper Man's ability, even though, like, we didn't get, like, in past JoJo parts where it explains the ability in full detail, he can apparently open zippers on any surface, allowing Bruno to pass through them. And he can kind of hide himself in anything as well. Even another person. Which is really creepy. He can also use the zippers to separate things, such as parts of bodies, such as when he did that with his arm, and Giorno did it with his arm and all, too. He separates, like, his arm and used the kid's arm on him and everything. And it's like, oh, dude, your standability is just weird. But I like it. I like that it's weird. It's bizarre, you could say. And most of this fight, most of this fight, most of this episode is basically the ongoing fight between these two. Giorno and Bruno taking each other on, Giorno chasing Bruno through the streets, and then going at each other again. We did find out something else. I don't remember if it was said in the first episode, maybe I just forgot, but Giorno's power seems to be giving life to things. Which makes sense on how he could turn Koichi's luggage into, yeah. He could turn Koichi's luggage into a frog. He could turn money into butterflies. I guess he can just give anything life. He can make it alive. He can turn it, like, inanimate objects into something that is living. And presumably back again. Can he just straight up turn, like, a normally living object into something that's not alive then? Like, when fighting Bruno, could he have turned Bruno into, a rock? I don't know. Like a stone. Could he have turned Bruno into a stone? I don't know. Or if it's just he has to do it on objects that are normally non-living. And we know that if you attack anything that has been turned with this power, the damage comes back on you. So when inside this kid's body, I don't know if Bruno was actually controlling him, but the kid attacked the fly that was in reality Bruno's tooth that had been knocked out, which apparently, because it was Bruno's tooth, Giorno could have it go back to its owner or something. I don't know fully how that worked out, but that's how he knew Bruno was in the kid. When the kid attacked the fly, it of course hit him back, and unfortunately, yeah, the kid did get injured because of it a little bit, but it was able to knock Bruno out and out of the body and everything. So yeah, it's just interesting how his stand ability seems to work. And apparently if he gives extra life, if he gives life to something that's already living, which apparently he can do as well, it basically makes their senses go wild to a point where they have this out-of-body experience. His senses are so heightened, so, like, going completely berserk, that he's having this out-of-body experience to where it's like his consciousness is moving faster than everything else. So consciously, he's like over there behind Giorno, but physically he's still in front of him, moving super slowly, basically. Which is how the out-of-body experience works, how he's able to see everything going on and all that. That's really unique, for sure. And we find out a lot about Giorno's backstory in this episode, about how his mother was kind of dismissive of him, not really the best mother. It didn't say she hated him, but she just kind of went on with her life, and she's like, I'm not going to give up my life, give up my fun for this kid. And I mean, I kind of get where she's coming from, because, again, presumably it was a rape situation with Dio, very likely. And she's like, she doesn't really care about him. Honestly, in a lot of these kinds of situations, the mothers will often get abortions, and I'm actually kind of surprised that didn't happen. But the fact is, she did go through with the birth, and she just kind of became dismissive of him. She ended up marrying this man who became extremely abusive, and Giorno was having trouble with bullies his own age and stuff, and then he ends up protecting this man he sees, this injured man who he finds out is a gangster, and he starts to look up to this gangster, starts to see him as this great guy who he believes in and trusts in, and so he wants to be a gangster himself in order to clean up the town in a similar way to this idol of his, I guess. Now, this episode didn't feature Koichi or Jotaro at all. They were in the first episode, but they had nothing to do with this one. So I wonder how consistent their appearances in this new series are going to be. One thing we also do know is that Giorno's big goal here is not just to become a gangster, not just to become a gang star, as he puts it. He wants to take over this group that Bruno's a part of. He's going to join Bruno's group with the goal of moving up in the ranks and eventually taking over, so that he can get rid of the other gangsters who are selling drugs to kids and whatnot, which is something he strongly opposes. And it seems like Bruno does too. They have that shared commonality because, as Giorno pointed out, Bruno hesitated when he saw that this kid he had been inhabiting had been shooting up drugs and stuff. So yeah, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I kind of could tell that Bruno was going to be one of those characters who ended up joining our JoJo of the part, of part 5. He just had that kind of character to him. And his interactions with Giorno here kind of reminded me a little bit of Kakyoin and Jotaro in part 3, as well as Okuyasu and Josuke in part 4. One of those characters who starts off as this antagonist but joins forces with them afterwards. That's honestly a pretty common thing, actually. In fact, it's actually happened in every single part, now that I think about it. Part 1, and to different degrees, of course. Part 1 had Speedwagon and Jonathan. Speedwagon was, at first, he was actually a very short, antagonist for Jonathan, appearing in this alley to stop him, but Jonathan beat him in his gang, and Speedwagon kind of pledged loyalty to him. With part 2, with Joseph, he had Caesar Zappelli. Caesar, for a very short time, was kind of like this rival for him, but they ended up becoming like best friends through working together. Even though they were kind of supposed to be meeting each other anyways, they started off with this rival mentality towards each other. And in part 3, as I mentioned, it was Kakyoin and Jotaro. Kakyoin started out as an enemy controlled by one of Dio's flesh buds. And then after the flesh bud was removed, he joined with Jotaro and Joseph as a member of the Stardust Crusaders. And in part 4, Okuyasu started off as an antagonist towards Josuke. And then after Keicho, Okuyasu's brother, was killed by Red Hot Chili Pepper, Okuyasu kind of just decided to be friends with Josuke. He just kind of decided to do so. Plus, Josuke did show some caring for the situation with Okuyasu and Keicho's father and all, so, to be fair. But yeah, every single part has that kind of thing going for it. So, it's like, I just remembered part 3 specifically before, but now that I think about it, I probably subconsciously thought about the others, because every part of JoJo has that commonality. The main character, our JoJo of the part of the series, always has this antagonist who joins forces with them at the beginning of the series. And it's just like, yeah, Bruno's that one for part 5. Okay, and I can dig that. I like Bruno so far, and I like that he does have that moral compass to him that Giorno recognized here. I do like that. Now, we didn't really get anything else besides these two and their fight and eventual, I guess, joining together. They didn't really officially join together in the end, but I kind of went that way. There wasn't really anything else in this episode. That was pretty much it. And it's like, I'm not opposed to that. It's just like, there's not much of anything else to talk about because of it. But then we have the opening and ending. I will talk about that. The opening to JoJo Part 5, at least the first opening, there'll probably be more than one. It's good. I mean, I don't know if I like it as much as the other JoJo openings yet. I'm probably going to have to hear it more times to really get a good feel for it. But it definitely feels like a JoJo opening. I will say that. The ending theme, though? What? Like, JoJo is known for using, like, famous songs and stuff for its ending themes, and, like, even in surprising ways, making them work. Like, the first ending theme for Diamond is Unbreakable, when I was first watching through the series, I did not think it worked, but the more I listened to it, especially with rewatching it on Toonami and stuff, I actually like it a lot more. It's not necessarily a song I'd put on my phone, but I do like it a lot more. And I'm going to have to listen to the ending themes for other ones. I mean, you're not going to match, like, the epicness of Roundabout from Part 1, or Walk Like an Egyptian from Stardust Crusaders, but still. The ending themes are always these, like, really surprisingly fitting, like, classic songs. And Freakin' You, or I think that's what it was called, it might be a classic song. I've never heard it, but the style of it is, like, it's very jazzy Motown kind of music, and it's like, what? It's like, even if I would think they try to go with something more that could be more connected to, like, gangster movies, something that you would hear in, like, something like Scarface, The Godfather, that one other movie I cannot remember the name of that I never actually saw. I don't know the name of it. It has Ray Liotta in it. I know that. It's the movie, like, with that line, "You think I'm funny." With Joe Pesci, I believe. I can't think of what it's called. I never saw it. I've wanted to see it. I just never got around to it yet. But yeah, those kind of movies, though, the gangster movies. You'd expect something like you'd hear in there, not like obviously the classic Godfather theme. No, nothing like that. But something more similar to that, more than like a jazzy Motown style song. I don't know. I just don't know about that choice. But hey, it might grow on me like others have. We'll see. In the meantime, though, like I said, I did enjoy this episode. I enjoy where it's going. I like that the episode actually straight up said that it's unknown how Giorno's mother survived being with Dio and all. How she wasn't just fucked and then killed. I like how the episode actually straight up addressed that. You know? It's a nice touch, and I wonder if we'll ever actually find out. But at the same time, I don't think we need to necessarily. It's one of those mysteries that don't really need to be answered, but I wouldn't mind it being answered because I'm still curious, you know? I'm curious why Dio let her survive, and if we'll ever find out. And where are his parents now? Like, is he still living with his mother and stepfather? I really don't know. It didn't say. I'm curious if we'll find that out, too. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for tuning in. And tell me your thoughts of this episode in the comments below. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.